At both rest and low exertion exercise, we find that the body uses the oxidative system. As I walk down the court, both beta oxidation and oxidative glycolysis are at work to power the low-level physical demands of my movement. Typically, the muscles will use more fat than carbohydrates when operating at this level to supply the ATP. As I begin to jump up for a dunk, the ATP-PCR system is activated. The ATP-PCR system powers short, intense movements lasting 3 to 15 seconds. The ATP is readily available without oxygen and is classified as substrate-level metabolism. Although it doesn't use oxygen, it can occur in the presence of oxygen. Both systems operate at the same time, although ATP PCR is responsible for supplying the ATP necessary for the quick vertical explosion. By using the stretch shortening cycle, I went from a steady walk into a quick counter movement jump that climaxed after the eccentric then concentric contraction of my quadriceps, hip flexors, and glutes. This resulted in triple extension of my hips, knees, and ankles. My abdominal muscles contracted isometrically as I stabilized my body in the air, and my arms went into vertical extension as my deltoids contracted concentrically to throw my body in the basketball toward the rim.
Here we have footage of the Merrimack men's soccer team using all three energy systems during play. These systems include the ATP-PCR system, the glycolytic system, and the oxidative system as well. The ATP-PCR systems are being used during goalie's act of saving a ball, a player kicking the ball, and also throwing the ball overhead from out of bounds. As you can see, the soccer player is using the ATP-PCR system by using momentum from his legs and stabilizing his core. He then propels the ball forward, fully extending his triceps, which are in concentric contraction, the biceps, which are in eccentric movement, and elbow extension, while also performing shoulder abduction and hip flexion. Another example of the ATP-PCR activation is where the player kicks the ball. The player uses trunk rotation while stabilizing his core, also uses hip extension, knee flexion and extension, and also ankle plantar flexion. When the player brings his leg back through the motion of kicking the ball, his quads and hamstrings are both activated to generate the maximum force. Once ATP becomes depleted after the initial 3 to 15 seconds, the glycolytic anaerobic system kicks in from a span of 15 to 2 minutes. The anaerobic glycolytic system is activated when the players play defense and are involved in using short bursts of energy. The end result within the muscle for both the ATP, PCR, and the glycolytic system is a lactic acid buildup. The oxidative system becomes activated in the prolonged running up and down the field for the duration of the game, which is 90 minutes, and requires a player's body to use oxygen to produce ATP. The primary fuel for the oxidative system is carbohydrates, but also burns fat due to the vigorous amounts of running. All in all, soccer players are normally trained aerobically during the season because they are required to run a lot during play. Soccer athletes are trained with a lot of running circuits and plyometric training to enhance performance on the field.
Energy production is both time and intensity related. Running at a very high intensity, as in sprinting, means that an athlete is operating effectively for a very short period of time, whereas running at a low intensity, as in gentle jogging, means that an athlete can sustain activity for a long period of time, which relates to glycolytic metabolism. There is a relationship between exercise intensity and the energy source that is being used. Since a 40-yard sprint is executed at no more than 4 to 5 seconds of high intensity, the anaerobic metabolism of ATP PCR is being used. The start of the sprint is an explosive movement to try and accelerate to top speed as fast as possible. This allows us to identify the use of the phosphocreatine in the body in order to perform such an explosive jump off the line into a sprint. During the beginning of the sprint, the quadriceps eccentrically contract to stabilize the knee. They then concentrically contract at the end of the support phase of the sprint to advance the body upward for the flight phase of the sprint. During the support phase of sprinting, the gluteus contracts along with the muscles of the abdomen in order to stabilize the pelvis.